Yeah,
and they do a physics class.
Universe with nothing else in it,
It's
but in
different
reality,
Band-Aids. Different Band-Aids for different things. Just
Yo,
say
tell
that.
everyone real quick. Tell everyone about how they teach flat Earth every time they do a physics class and they're showing a parabolic arc.
that's your argument.
No, that's what. Yeah, but you said that's what they teach. That's you said they
Oh, yeah,
simplify
they
it.
teach it's the same thing. Yeah, they're teaching these simple ways. So just like when they write those scientific
flat
papers and they say all of these are assuming a flat stationary Earth and there's no variant mass or anything like that. It's because these are assumptions that where these mathematics work. They have to explain that.
In every school on Earth this year, kids got taught about how when they throw something, what the arc's going to be. It's like a physics thing in high school. Every high schooler got taught flat Earth.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah,
why not? Right?
You remember the MythBusters episode where they shot a bullet straight and dropped the bullet at the same
flat
time.
Earth. Yep, that's flat Earth.
And they hit the ground at the same time, even though the bullet went however far, a mile, however far the bullet falls. Right? It shouldn't be the same because it would be arcing over the curvature of this Earth, but apparently not.
Yeah. Problem is Jeremy already had this argument, and it unfortunately doesn't hold water because the difference in their measurement, there was a margin of error. Like there was a margin. The difference that they got was actually within the margin of error of the curvature of the Earth. So the curvature of the Earth was within that measurement. I wouldn't say that's what they measured, but I would argue that it's easily hidden in that measurement.
How far out would you go? You could do this with a sniper rifle at a mile, and it'd be definitive.
I don't think this test. I don't like this test because the range.
This debunks the globe. I know.
No, because the amount that you'd be looking for is easily inside the margin of error.
How far do you got to go?
I guess
where
it's
the margin
about
of error is not a problem.
I suppose it's about how high the gun is when it's fired.
That's another thing. But how far would you have to go before it's not an issue? The error bar, Kosho.
I don't know if I would ever be okay with it.
What if we did it indoors?
In a vacuum, then I would start to be okay with it. But even still,
indoors in a vacuum. How far in a vacuum?
That's what I'm saying, dude. If it wasn't in a vacuum, I wouldn't even be okay with it at all because the amount that the bullet can sway due to small things like the wind or whatever, compared to the amount of the Earth's curving, is not even comparable.
Yeah, but they are teaching flat Earth. They are teaching flat Earth formulas in school every day, and that's how physics works on Earth, right?
Yeah,
sure, that's what you want to say, man. That's how they teach.
That's not what I want to say. I mean, I want to say what they do.
Yeah, but we teach things in the most basic form ever. That's what we always do. We teach things. We don't complicate.
Flat Earth.
Yeah, we don't complicate.
So you're saying flat Earth is default.
There's literally they taught flat Earth all over America. At least every high school in America taught flat Earth this year to kids. Every time they throw something in a parabolic arc, all the physics rooms got all that shit drawn all over the board. That's all a whole bunch of that stuff's flat Earth physics.
Yeah, but it's only because the difference is minuscule. Yet having to draw like a grid and then include that like minuscule difference just to explain that, there's no point in that. Of course,
okay, but me, you know what? What's up, Quat? Say it again, Quat.
He said there's no point. Yeah, there's no point in teaching the globe because it's not noticeable or not real.
Well, I think there's a point. Listen, man, it goes back to the same thing with SR. Same thing with motion, laws of motion, same thing with all these things. All of these things are explained in very simple forms, like things that are, like for special relativity, it's things that are in non-curved space-time, and they're moving without changing velocity. So that's like a very simple explanation. Things that are when you're describing a ball going through the air, you're going to just describe it on a 2D grid, where gravity is acting in one direction. You're not going to draw it on a sphere. And this doesn't make sense to do that.
Doesn't make sense, huh? I agree.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, we agree. I think we know what you're putting down, Kosho.
We got you. Wink, wink.
How have you guys been? How's it been, Fundy?
Angry.
I wouldn't expect that. Okay.
Can't you hear all the anger in my voice? I'm furious. You been good? You said you've been working? Too busy to hang out with us?
Did your girlfriend break up with you? Did your girlfriend break up with you because of all the showers? Did you get
No.
Did you get?
We actually, you'd be surprised.
You got them under control.
You'd be surprised. Most people are not uncomfortable with more showers. It usually doesn't make people
I'm pretty
uncomfortable.
sure. I remember you said one day that you guys were fighting about how many showers you take. You said that on the live stream.
But yeah, I'm for sure we did actually. Yeah. All right, good point.
So you're taking less showers now.
Actually, I am. Yeah. So shorter showers.
Because you used to come on here on Discord when you were in the bathroom or in the shower.
Remember how quickly
And,
I was
That's probably why my showers got
got
shorter.
As soon as you could hear like a little echo, I was like, "Are you in the bathroom, Kosho?" It's like I'm not taking a bath right now.
It's getting personal, guys.
Let's get it out of the bathroom. Hey, did you guys see that thing that Mark Rober did? I forgot. I thought someone asked you guys about that. Where he does that thing where it's like you can take a picture, you can take a selfie of yourself in space. Have you guys seen that?
Astronaut selfies? No.
that guy might be a real life NASA shill. I'm pretty sure he is.
He is, yeah.
He like said he worked for NASA. He's a big like NASA fan guy. He got millions of subs. He's an actual NASA shill. He's a real paid NASA shill, actually. The real deal one.
It's funny.
The guy's always shucking NASA stuff. He's like, yeah, my favorite NASA. He's got like stickers on NASA stickers on all of his little things that he makes.
Yeah, but he worked there. He says he worked on the Mars rover. But yeah, he made this. He made a video about it. He made this website. Made a video about it, where he put a satellite in space supposedly, and there's a camera on it. And if you go to this website, you can upload a selfie of you, and it will take a picture of the selfie and of wherever the camera's pointed on Earth. So it's like a picture. It's like a selfie from space.
What?
I've actually never done it.
So you can get a CGI space selfie with the globe.
I've never even been to this website, so I'm looking at it right now.
I have heard of this. I just went to the site now. It's free.
Yeah, supposedly, but I've never.
It says we'll send your selfie to the satellite and it snaps a photo with the Earth in the background. Wow.
On his phone that he holds up? Or I don't get it.
No,
You send him a picture of you, and then he does what with your picture? Takes a photo of a second phone where he has it pulled up?
Yeah, look at this picture. Look at this picture. You can see like this is what it would look like. Like they posted your picture, they post it there, so that the camera can then see it, and then it shows the Earth in the background.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I could go on a
Dude,
rant
there's
about how
literally
this is some pretty heavy programming.
Yeah.
You're getting your selfie with the CGI ball behind you.
Yeah, it's literally CGI because the exposure and also the focus of the city lights there and the screen brightness also being picked up equally. This just like to anyone who knows anything about photography, like the one you showed has to be fake.
Well, I'm doing that's just the ad. That was the ad on the website, or I was like that thing. I'm gonna post it. I'm actually gonna do it now and see what I get back.
Dude, it says right here on that website, frequently asked questions. It says, to prove to you that we didn't fake the landing of your space selfie, we'll take a picture of the phone displaying your image with Earth in the background. Boom, you get a selfie with the Earth, a space selfie. That's funny that they say right here about faking it. Well, because they say there's a picture of the phone that's carrying the image on the satellite, therefore they didn't fake it.
Yeah, it's impossible to fake.
It says it was from the SpaceX Falcon 9 is when they launched it up there. January 14th, 2025. It's free. Are you going to do it, Kosho?
Yeah, I'm putting a picture on there now.
Put a picture of the two-pole flat Earth. Right next to Glob. They're friends. Have you seen the two-pole flat Earth models, Kosho? You haven't been around. Where have you been? You missed it all. Well, those have been around for a while, but
No, I don't think so. Sorry, I just gotta put this stuff back down. But no, I don't think so.
well, it allows for the southern star rotation and the 24-hour sun in the south. It's pretty obvious.
Oh yeah,
It's obvious we're on a two-pole system. I mean, you have consistent GPs and you have two poles, so it means the ground is two-pole. It was never one pole. That was just a deception. Probably an all-seeing eye AE map deception. Kind of the Globe 2.0, that whole AE map thing. Which, I mean, I think many of us suspected that over the years, but
Is it the same as the one that like where new perspective? Because I've shown that a 2-pole flat Earth.
yeah. Well, there's I mean, even just on like the list of map projections on Wikipedia, like all the major ones, it's like half of them are that type of layout. So yeah, it's a pretty commonly known type of layout. Even if you just take the Mercator map, like the square thing, and you just put a pole at the top, pole at the bottom. I mean, obviously the square thing is another topic, whether it's square or not, but you just have two poles and the land in between. Because even on the globe, like the whole half of the globe is the Pacific Ocean. We call it the blue side of the ball. That's what I've been calling it instead of the dark side of the moon. So like half of the ball is the Pacific Ocean. And what those two-pole planar layouts do is they basically make the Pacific Ocean the ring around the outside instead of Antarctica. And it maintains Antarctica as a continent.
Yeah, I think I know exactly what you're talking about.
And it keeps the equator straight, a straight line, instead of the AE map that has it curved. But biggest issue, one of the biggest issues is the east-west circumnavigation, though. Like if you go directly west, what happens, you know? And there's different ideas. I mean, some people say there's actually a barrier there and you have to go up to the right or down to the left. Like you have to go up to the north or to the left to start circling around. But anyways, that's one of the things. There would have to be like an anomaly going on in the Pacific Ocean that either they're hiding from us or blocking, or because the stars would have to split and all that. So yeah, there would have to be like a pretty major anomaly. And I was actually going to ask you, I was looking into cruises. Like, do you know of like cruises that go right across the Pacific? That's another topic.
Yeah.
Too.
Well, it depends what you mean across the Pacific. Like, actually, well, we have ones that go from Alaska to Hawaii. I mean, that's
well, because the point I'm talking about on the two poles, the east-west thing, I'm just saying there would have to be something going on. Like they'd have to be high. Like all of these different layouts have something. Like even the globe has its own thing going on with it. Of like there'd have to be certain anomalies going on. But like with the AE map, you'd have to have those great distances in the south. With the two-pole, there's this east-west circumnavigation thing. Because the two-pole planar Earth layouts work perfectly with the sky. Like you actually have two poles. You have a north pole, 90 north. You have a south pole, 90 south. And then you have the toroidal vortexing motion of the stars, clockwise, counterclockwise. That's exactly the way an electric field works, like an electric field lines. So I mean, it matches what you can replicate on the ground. The sky is a magnetic field. It would be like a stereographic projection of a sphere, like over a planar surface. So you'd have a planar surface, then you'd have the two poles, which would be a stereographic projection of what a sphere is. So that would be what the celestial sphere is.
I'm gonna see if I can find a picture, that I'm talking about, because I wonder if we're talking about the same thing that I've seen before. Like New Perspective used to post it sometimes. Like, are you talking about that one?
He's got some that he posts. If you see in the chat, see that vertical wall. See, that's a sphere. You can project it with an AE map.
Oh yeah.
Or the vertical wall. Well, the vertical wall is what the sky looks like. It's straight at the equator, two poles, 24-hour sun, 6 months apart. So I'm saying that that's what a stereographic projection of a sphere is.
Right. Yeah, this one actually does make sense.
Yeah,
you can make it make sense.
New Perspective has been posting this one lately. I'm not saying this is what it is. I haven't mapped the whole Earth. I'm just talking about how it matches with the sky, and this is one of the map projections as well. There's like the Lambert equal area azimuthal projections, which basically it's azimuthal equal area, and then it has the straight line at the equator. You still get the four corners of the Earth with this. You have the north, south, east, west. I think it's interesting. New Perspective is pointing out that like he put this on one of them, like NESW. Just another interesting side thing is like they call it the East, like the Eastern traditions, and the West, the Western traditions. Well, with this, it actually would be Eastern and Western instead of on the globe or in an AE map. I always thought, why do they really call it East and West? It's relative. Like it could be the other way around depending on where you're starting from. But this one actually would be in the East and in the West.
Oh right.
Like and these are more similar. Places. Yeah, they're actually fixed places in this. And then you have the four corners of the Earth concept too. Those four corners there, or those four regions, like four quadrants. NASA Shield just had two different projections of a globe. Yeah, so what's interesting about this in terms of a planar layout is that it does match more so what a globe would be. Like you have the southern half, like an AE map around Antarctica, which would be like the bottom of the globe. Then you have the northern half, which is like what they call the northern hemisphere on the globe, with the center being the Polaris, the Arctic. So it actually matches much closer to what the mainstream model is, rather than the AE map, which is just way off, like with just one pole in the middle and the south's all distorted and it doesn't match the globe at all. Whereas it would make more sense that they pulled off a globe deception if this was the case, because you actually have the two poles and the two quote unquote hemispheres. It's just two halves of the planar Earth instead of two halves of a ball. But it matches closer, which would make more sense how they pulled off the globe deception when there's the similarities in the two 24-hour suns, the two star rotations, the two poles, which would all match what a globe would be.
Yeah, dude. Here, check this out. Hold on. See if this post. Hold on. That's my two poles, dude.
No.
Different has there's two. They're actually two separate planes.
Oh, they're two separate like worlds. But
Yeah.
cross at the equator though.
Yeah, they cross at the equator. Yeah, that's the part I haven't worked out because they do cross at the equator, but it does explain why the skies rotate in opposite directions. Because they rotate, they kiss like two coins rotating together, and so where you cross is where it's kissing. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have the whole thing worked out.
Well, if you see that, what you posted reminds me of this one. This Lady Blunt from her book Zetetic Astronomy, different than Robotham's, but it's the same name. But that's from her book, and I have a couple more of these screenshots. But yeah, this is how she describes the two rotations, the north and south. So yeah, what you posted reminds me of that.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
I never even heard of that.
She knew there was a 24-hour sun there. It's this book. I have a bunch more screenshots, but yeah, that's the book it's in. The sun's motions north and south with the moon's motions.
Well, the other crazy thing is, so yeah, because I made up this other part that made it make sense. So there's a part that makes distances on the map. Like distances on the map don't make sense because they're projections from a globe, and that's what we always say because it's the truth. But regardless, if you go to the map, like I drew them, like the two spheres, like two hemispheres, the difference between those and the distances between on there and on a globe is oh fuck, it's like a really simple it's the same function as with what's it called? Time dilation, or what's it called? Space dilation. What's that called again? The space portion of time dilation. Regardless, that
Space dilation.
I forget what it's called.
Space contraction.
Space dilation. Well, it'd be space dilation, man. I don't think there's a better term for it.
I forget what it's called. It's gonna. It'll come to us. Regardless, though, that same formula, you can use that to explain why the differences north to south. I'll have to post the math. Hold on. Length contraction. That's what I was looking for. Length contraction.
Yeah, but do you really want length being contracted, or do you want it being dilated to try to make sense of this? Like, do you want it being dilated?
Yeah, but honestly, the time dilation, like the dilation in general, is a misnomer. So they're just terms, anyways. You know what I mean? The point is that there's a difference in length.
It's all fake stuff, anyways. It's just words. They don't mean anything. That's not real science. I agree.
Well, it's not that the words don't mean anything, but the dilation for what the time is doing is not the most accurate description of what it's doing.
It's not accurate. We don't need to use it.
Here's something that might be a little bit of a trap, boxing in a lot of people's thoughts on this matter. You're told that for time to contract, for space. But what if they actually both contract and dilate together? Where space is dilated, time is also dilated, and where space is contracted, time is also contracted.
Here we go.
Just the idea that space and time are more dilated the further away from the North Pole you get.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like that's what I was saying. If you accept an idea like this, then you'd accept also that there's two hemispheres and not just one, but there's two centers, and like the North Pole and the South Pole. Then that's what I'm saying. That if you accept some weird length contraction that mathematically satisfies the difference between the measurements on a globe and the measurements on a flat plane, then you can use those flat planes and the distances from the globe. And actually, the math checks out. It's pretty. You just have to do a simple space length contraction.
Transform.
It depends on the distance from the center.
So what does that do? That you're trying to say you're on a ball but can just contract it to be a plane, or you're saying you're on a plane and can contract it to be a ball?
No, I'm saying you could be on a plane, but this could make it possible that you're on a plane. But you know how like we always argue that the distances north to south aren't correct because we say because the matches what's on a globe.
You mean east to west, north to south is actually what.
Yeah,
saying.
east to west. Well, yeah, exactly.
And that's exactly why the type of space and time dilation would be like a lateral dilation, the same way that you drop a stone into a pond and you like pick one ripple and stick with it. Does the ripple ever get taller? No. You know what I mean? It's basically like stretching Laffy, right? It's what I'm saying is that if space was taffy, right, that 40 degrees north latitude is the same amount of taffy as 40 degrees south latitude. That it's the same amount of space, it's just dilated and gives it the ability to wrap around the same amount of substance with the same amount of material, right? A 10-foot rope is surrounding a 10-foot rope at a further distance because the space that the second 10-foot rope is occupying is dilated space.
Honestly, I wish I had all my notes out and stuff like that because actually I did the math for all of this, and it does. There's ways to make it so it checks out.
I've actually wondered if something like that wasn't going on. Just thinking in the past about how and why. It always measures flat, but the sky looks like a sphere because I know it fucking measures flat in every way that you can test. But it's interesting you're actually able to put it into words because I never really, I don't think it's the case, but, I totally I understand what you're saying.
I appreciate you saying that, man. It's just an idea to, float around because it might inspire some new thoughts.
Well, it would satisfy a lot of the issues that a lot of us talk about, like a lot of the classical flat Earth debate questions, like when we talk about like distances over the Earth and the shortest distance between 2 points and stuff like that, and why they would go this route versus this route, and they make sense on a globe, but they would also make sense if there was this sort of
lateral
stretching,
space dilation.
This longitudinal. It's like longitudinal sort of distance contraction.
It's so funny though, because a lot of people want to throw out the AE model, but those meter references that are on a lot of maps, and how you can't use an east-west little meter on an AE map, right? Because it's saying that an inch on the map in the northern hemisphere, it doesn't represent the same distance as an inch on the map in the southern hemisphere because the space is being laterally dilated. I'm telling you guys that the AE map might literally just be straightforward telling you how things really are. That space itself is stretched the further away from north you go, or the North Pole you go. Just as the AE map explains, space is being laterally dilated. And maybe exponentially so that, 85 degrees south, right? Oh, what a giant circumference that is. I'm telling you that actually might be a short distance. The whole circumnavigating east to west on the flat Earth at 85 degrees south might be the same distance and experience that way as traveling 85 degrees north. Same amount of taffy, just stretched out to a longer distance appearing on a map because it's surrounding the one. But truthfully, in the experience of it, actually pretty short to travel. It's a little bit of space stretched out very wide, basically.
Yeah, I get the concept. It's interesting. I think you're left with a thing though, like how would you prove it though,
No, my bad. I was looking at that thing, the satellite selfie thing. Apparently you can also choose where it takes a selfie at as well, like where it's supposedly over. No, but I was listening to what you said too about the taffy, and yeah, again, I mean, that's a good analogy because it's like it's stretchy at other places than others, but it's like you don't notice it as stretching. It's just the distances themselves are different there, and then it's in the same way that in special relativity that it does the same thing. The length contracts, but it's not really something that you notice. You're not going to see things as being longer or shorter.
Exactly. I'm basically saying right that you'd be like this like mile long human. You'd only be 6 foot tall, but your torso would be a mile wide. But you wouldn't know that. That would only be something like I'm not even sure from a distance you could be seen as that way. But yeah, that is the idea.
I mean, Fundy, are you kind of joking with us? Are you serious or not? Like, it's pretty intense, right?
Yeah,
Like, I was
it's
entertaining it, and I still am in my mind. But we're talking about your torso being
You're the
stretched
wrong
out. I mean, is this happening?
you're the wrong guy to say that, man. You're pushing this nonsense dual stuff on us, and I'm telling you a very simple idea that space, just like a ripple in water, like I said, you throw a stone into a body of water, and you pick one ripple and follow it. What happens to that ripple? All that happens is that the same ripple becomes laterally dilated. That's how space is acting the further away from the center of the ripple that is emanating space. It dilates laterally the further away from the source you get. As
You
far as
conceptually
answering
don't
questions,
grasp it,
answers a
Gio,
lot.
or because in concept I completely understand it. I mean, I don't believe it or necessarily or anything. I can grasp it. Like you don't get it, Gio.
I get the general idea, I guess, of stretching it out as you go out. But what does that solve? I mean, you're not talking about like the southern star rotation or the South Pole or the 24-hour sun in the south, right? Like none of that's addressing any of that. This is just something about how the space is expanded as you go out. I'm just wondering what it
It
solves.
it addresses most issues.
Yeah, what I was saying was that picture I drew that had the two hemispheres rotating. That's in conjunction with what Fundy's saying, and those two things in conjunction, they do solve a lot of problems, like the opposite rotation, opposite sky rotations, 24 hours in the south, whatever, all that kind of stuff, including the discrepancy between the sizes and distances on um, AE maps. But obviously, you guys know I don't believe that. I was just working on a, a flat model that worked. And so I'm trying to work on, I was working on that, trying to make it so that it works and it is consistent with the, flat plane and also
It all,
everything we see.
what I'm saying also aligns with the mythology of tiny little dwarf elves at the center and ice giants on the exterior.
Well, so like, what is this stretching it out solve though? Like, are you saying it makes it seem like there's a southern hemisphere that's the same size as the north because it's stretched out, even though in reality it's an AE map thing that stretches out in actual reality, but we experience it like an equal hemisphere or something to the north?
Yeah, it would be traveled upon as if it were just a non-space dilated globe, but it would measure in any test of straightness as level and flat, because that's what it is. It's just that the outer perimeter isn't as long as it appears on a map. And this is exactly what the AE map is telling you. Space is laterally dilated the further away from north you go. It's right there. It's been in plain sight the whole time. Not saying it's the truth, but it is something that answers a lot of questions, potentially. It's just that flat earthers, we have a sour taste in our mouth when it comes to the NASA and the globe and all these, people telling us, oh, time, space dilation, contraction. That's their bullshit. We would never touch those terms with a 10-foot pole. It's like, well, you might be putting yourself into too small of a box of thinking if you're afraid to even think about utilizing such concepts. Maybe flat earthers should try adding a little bit of space and time dilation to their model. Might work out for you pretty well.
Are you saying you think this is the case, or are you just saying it's just speculation, or from your
Oh
position?
no, I proved it. Yeah, of course. It's a thought out there. I'm floating a thought. It's a pretty good one, in my opinion. Definitely
does that
just
do for
opening
the-
a door that people have been afraid to for a while.
Well, with that idea, what does it do for the southern star rotation, the 90-degree southern pole, and the 24-hour sun in Antarctica?
That alone does a lot of heavy lifting. There would need to be only a slight assistance of maybe some refraction. It would require it to be a lot less because it's allowing, right, the lateral space dilation makes the distances like one of it fixes one of the issues on the dual pole model immediately by saying, why can these people over here see the sun at the same time as these people over here? And on the map, it looks like such a great distance. No way they should be able to see it. But I'm saying those distances around the exterior, right? They're not as far of distances as they appear to be on a map, because that's far less space that you experience it visually as than it appears to be on the map. It brings the the tip of South America and Australia a lot closer together than they appear to be.
This is like what the concavers do. They accept everything that globe claims is happening in places that we aren't mapping or able to go to, and then they make models.
Not really a thing, all right. I wish I could find my
Dildo.
math for this.
You saying that's what I'm doing, Quap? I'm not pushing anything. It's fact.
No, I know. I'm just saying, but when you do that, that's what you're doing. I know you. That's not just a theory. I'm just saying it would be a band-aid for something we haven't checked that is actually happening.
Just putting out the idea that maybe space, not in the way the Globers say, but maybe there is such thing as space dilation.
But then it's not affecting your. Maybe I haven't thought this through. Okay, so people.
It's not affecting level, right? Everything's still flat. It's just that space is dilated the further away from the North Pole you get.
Just like latitudes?
In a lateral sense. Yeah, just the latitudes, exactly as the AE map portrays it.
How about your body?
Space itself, that would, the material occupying it would follow in suit, but it wouldn't be something you would notice.
I quit acid, bro. I'm gonna have to back out of this.
There's also something Jeremy and I independently have came up with, where I think a real interesting thing to consider is that the sky is could have some mechanism to it similar to those posters that look different depending on what position you are relative to them. You ever seen those?
Yeah, they're called lenticular lens. Yeah, I thought about that. It still doesn't really work with an AE map because you have consistent GPs of the stars that are like universal. They're not like individual to each person, meaning like there's not like a different GP for me. And then if you're 100 miles away, there's a different one for you. If that was the case, and then the third person would be able to measure two different GPs. But the lenticular lens idea is cool, though. If the sky was like some kind of holographic lenticular process, thing. But the fact that there's consistent GPs means that there is like a linking point for those things in the sky down to the ground that are consistent. So it can't just be different for each person. But unless somebody could solve that in some other way or that issue with it, but it is cool, the lenticular lens idea. And by the way, you said earlier, just to clear the record, you said I was pushing a two-pole. I'm really not, because I'm not asserting that it is a two-pole. I haven't measured the entire Earth. Clearly, the sky is two-pole. That would make sense that the ground would be when you have the consistent GPs. But I'm not asserting it or saying that's what it is, because I haven't verified it to be that. But it does seem like the AE map is really not possible with the sky, which I've always kind of known that. But we've thought about it as like a blueprint over the years. I know some people are still thinking it could be. I'm pretty far from the AE map. I never really thought it was the truth anyways fully. It always seemed a bit hokey and there's something off to it. But I do like it, though. It is elegant and beautiful with all the land coming out from the center. Like an eyeball, it is pretty cool in that way. But is that really what the realm is? That's the question.
So I have a question. I have a question about that. I've already probably asked this before. I'm still trying to figure out. So as far as like the sky not working with the AE map, so maybe you guys can show like the different AE models. I haven't like looked at them in a while. But like, would you say that the one you're thinking of that isn't working, that's the AE map, and would you say that in the one you're thinking of that doesn't work is the Tropic of Capricorn not going as
Yeah.
far south as it seems to be. Like when Witsit's on, you're saying the actual sun's path
Well,
is actually
curving.
further south.
It wouldn't be further south. It would. I mean, I suppose you could put it that way, but curving the opposite direction.
Well, that's if it's just farther south. Like if it's just a bigger circle, you wouldn't know if it was. I mean,
I don't think you can chalk it up to that because you can still be below the Tropic of Capricorn in Australia or whatever, right? It's really just the real issue is it curving the other way than you'd expect to perform a circum or a circle around Antarctica. That's why the two-pole thing tries to address it by having Antarctica as this like island that the sun does circles around in the sky. But that is an issue for the people on the opposite side of that map who are also seeing the sun on the complete other side.
I just don't know how we know it's curving to the left. If like for as far as like everyone that is that far south, what does it look like? Is it it's like rising south of west. I mean south of east, and then it's setting south of west, but more than farther south of west than it rose south of east.
It's basically just standing, like going to the Tropic of Capricorn, standing underneath it and holding your arms straight out, and like in a T-pose position. And you say, all right, the sun at noon is above my head. When it sets, is it, if I look to the right, is it behind my fingertips, or is it in front of my fingertips? And the same for the sunrise. And, it's in front instead of behind, which means it's curving the other way than you would want it to be.
Yeah, it's going to anti-arcing. It's going the opposite. It's like, I think that's why it's called Arctic and anti-Arctic. Arc and anti-arc. It's like an electric field. So it's arcing the other way. Like it's not making that same arc pattern as it does in the north, which if it was an AE with concentric circles, you would think it would continue that type of arc when it goes south, but it does the complete opposite. It reverses and arcs the other way. It like rises south of east and then it comes up over like in front of you, like where your forehead is. Or like if you can look on Stellarium, just go to Punta Arenas and just go to that time of year. It like it rises south of east, arcs up kind of if you were pointing like in front of your forehead looking up, depending on how far you are, but at like a 45 degree, well, it depends on where you are. And then it dips down and arcs back to the left, and then it sets. Jaron calls it right to left, which I don't really use that terminology, but it's like south of west because what he means is that when you're looking west, the sun, instead of going left to right, which you would think it would arc off going like the AE, it goes the other way, right to left, then arcs off towards Antarctica.
But that's based on us assuming that we know which way the magnetic field is pointing, as far as west and east in relation to the AE map.
Nah, man. It doesn't matter at all about maps or magnets. Like I said, you just go to the Tropic of Capricorn and you strike a T pose. And is the sun rising and setting in front of your fingers as you look left and right, or behind your fingers?
Yeah, it's a good way to describe it. I like that. And like from the videos I've seen, and like if you're in Antarctica and you're at a time of year where you only get like a 20-hour sun, it doesn't like stay north and do what you would think like on an AE map when it does set. It actually does even more dramatically. Like if you were standing in that T pose, like Fundy said, you'd have to like turn your head way off to the southeast. Like you have to turn your head all the way, and it rises way over your right shoulder, and then it arcs up very slowly over the horizon. Like it's almost doing that 24-hour sun effect. So that pattern also matches the north. Like when you get a 20-hour sun in the north, it's that same 24-hour sun effect. It's symmetrical, dude, to the north and south, just like an electric field. That's why this is so cool. Just the more information that's come out about all of this and getting more access to Antarctica and some of that, even though there was a decent amount before those guys went, but nonetheless, it's cool because it's an actual magnetic field, like the way a toroid works.
Well, this is something we all should have been aware of, since basically 5th grade, right? Once you go below or further south than the equator, it's like, I don't get how people weren't thinking about this from the beginning. Like, I understand the sky and AE have had some issues that we've been trying to work out for a while. It's like, I don't know, people didn't think about some simple things like just striking a T pose anywhere in the south before. But, my answer to all that, not that it's something that answers every question, I'm just saying my perspective on it is that if there's one thing that I can allow not to make logical sense about this reality, it's the heavens above.
It's an interesting point. Like, yeah, I hear you on that. I think what you were saying, like, did people think about this? Well, there were. If you remember the debates back, there was always that. Well, there was the Southern Star rotation, which always. Dude, that was the thing that like PMARS, and he used to come into like Bro Sanchez debates, like way before Discord. Bro Sanchez used to host those debates on his channel, and then PMARS would come in, and those guys would come in and just bomb the whole thing, and they'd bring up the Southern Star rotations, and everyone would go crazy. Like that was always a thing just in all the debates over the years, the southern star rotation, and then people talking about different theories of it's only perspective or, all of that. And then, like the sun rising south of east and south of west. I mean, that's been discussed for years. If you guys know that guy, The Rig, from he usually hangs out at Gem Panda server. He comes here sometimes, but The Rig, that guy, not Riggs, but The Rig. Anyways, but The Rig guy, him and I used to always joke because he had this. I have it. I'm on my phone right now, but I have it on my computer. It's like an AE map with like somebody just took like paint and they just drew. They show the sun path making that anti-arc, and it says SE for southeast and then SW. And he used to always post it. And we would just laugh because it just looks funny with the AE map and this huge arcing the other way. And of course, that was his kind of globe point, being like, yo, this doesn't work on the AE map. And he used to bring that up on 24/7. We would all talk about it and stuff back then. So I mean, it's been in the debate for years. From what I remember, some of the arguments for it were like maybe there's a lensing, some kind of like a lensing thing that happens on the outer edge. Like if the sky is like lens and it kind of causes, which actually can be replicated. You guys have probably seen those. Like you take a glass dome lens thing and you put it over like straight lines, and it actually will make those two patterns. So I think people talked about that idea. But that wouldn't really account for an actual 24-hour sun all the way in Antarctica. That would only maybe account for just the way the sun would rise and set in the south. But I think there's still issues with that. But nonetheless, that was one of the perspectives. So, and I've kind of talked a long time here, so I'll pass the mic. But I mean, there are other debate points that people were bringing, but it was always kind of a point that wasn't really very strongly supported, like for like an AE, for like definitely for an AE flat Earth type layout. That point, pretty much the Globers always kind of won that. The rising south of east, south of west. There wasn't ever really a good rebuttal for that, and so I think a lot of people just kind of left it kind of out there, maybe without fully, because the AE map was all people had, and there wasn't really, and then people knew it's not a globe. But yeah, sometimes funny the way you said that. I think about that too. It's like, what were people thinking to a degree? And also the fact that everything goes straight at the equator, the sun and the stars in the AE map. Like you would see half the sky, so you'd be making half of a circle, 180-degree circle, but you see them all dead straight. That's another thing that, I mean, we've talked about that for years too, but it's surprising as many people kind of went with the AE map with those just glaring inconsistencies with how the sky works.
Yeah, and like I was saying, I don't feel too inclined at all to throw out the AE map entirely at all. I think there's still plenty of room to work with it as long as you want to think outside the box and invoke some things that I guess haven't really been brought up too much or fully fleshed out. But it really is, at the heart of all this, it really is just when it comes to flat Earth, we have just a few difficulties to try to tackle when it comes to the relationship of the ground to the sky. And I'm fully open to the idea that some wacky shit goes on when it comes to how the Earth relates to heaven.
Yeah, I mean, for the two-pole thing, the wacky thing that would have to happen with the sky, like the two rotations are solid with the ground, and then the two 24-hour suns, except the sun has to not be like a physical object that's in. It has to. I've thought like if it were to be that, I've thought about it. It would have to be like an electrical circuit, like a nodal point on an electrical circuit. So kind of like if you think of like a circuit board or something, you turn the electricity on, the electricity shoots through the board kind of thing. Well, if the sun was like a little ball of electricity, as it were, going along the actual field lines, then it wouldn't really be like a physical object. It would actually just be like a manifestation of the field, or just going along that electrical field line. Because with the two-pole thing, something has to happen when it goes straight on the equator. If you have a planar Earth, if you don't have a globe, when it goes west, and then how does it pop up to the east? Well, if it's not a physical object, it wouldn't really have to transport. It wouldn't have to move location. It would just be that the straight line, if that's like a wire, it just, when it goes to the west, it would have to, but it would have to like extinguish or something, and then another sun basically, or like something would have to light up on the east side or whatever. It would have to be like a continuous loop of some sort. So that's a pretty big anomaly, that issue. And then yeah, just circumnavigating straight west, the sky would have to like split as it splits off to the north and splits off to the south. So that's a pretty big thing to think is happening. So they would have to be like hiding that from us. Basically, there would have to be like a spot in the Pacific Ocean that they don't let people go. Maybe. I'm not saying this is all the case. I'm just saying like it's what would have to be the case, because there'd be like huge anomalous zones, there. So anyways, those are just some of the things with the two-pole that are they're actually problematic with the sky. Yeah, it might solve the two poles and the 24-hour sun if you have like an electrical circuit sun kind of thing, but the east to west issue and then the stars splitting off, yeah, there would have to be some, that's like kind of anomalous in terms of there would have to be some answer for that.
It's funny you brought up the rig, because that is actually who I got that, or like the two pole model, or the two rotating. I think I'm the first person I ever heard talk about it.
Well, it's not really necessarily new, that idea. There's this guy Kazra. He did a presentation on here about it. He said that his group has had the 2-pole for like since 2018. That's what they've been telling people it is, and he said they've been out telling other flat earthers, about the straight line at the equator and all the different things, and trying to correct them in his viewpoint. So he said he's been into that since 18. I mean, I think I remember hearing about it back then, but it wasn't, especially on like places like that 24/7 server. Obviously, that was very AE map oriented. A lot of the discussions there.
Yeah,
And other channels too. Witsit, Jaren, pretty much all of them are pretty AE focused.
Yeah, but even the 2-pole model, it is almost it's like sort of AE in the sense that it's at least the northern hemisphere portion, and then the southern hemisphere is just another AE map, but just only for the southern hemisphere. So it kind of still uses it, but it's not in the same way. Well, I'll be right back.
Yeah, it uses it for the northern region. Yeah, the AE map would still be useful for the northern region, but you just have to have another AE for the south, and then they would have to meet together somehow.
Yeah, somehow. Yeah, that's the part that's tricky. I'll be right back. I'll come back in 10 minutes.
Right on. Yeah, I'm just chilling.